Welcome to Giant Cocktails, a podcast where two lifelong fans talk about the San Francisco Giants while drinking homemade cocktails. Now, here are your hosts, Ben and Matthew Henry.
Hello, and welcome to another exhilarating episode of Giant Cocktails Midweek Review. I'm your ever-diligent host, Matthew Henry, ready to dive into the delicious world of baseball and beverages. And joining me, despite battling a head cold like a true champion, is the grand sommelier of sneeze and stats, the maestro of medicine and mojitos, Ben Henry. Grab your tissues and your tall glasses, folks, because even a cold can't dampen the spirits or the stats around here. Let's get shaken and stat tracking. Cheers, Ben, grand sommelier of sneeze and stats. Did you just mute because you were coughing?
I did. No. I didn't even plan that. I went to say something, and then my lungs were like, "Oh, finally, he's going to breathe in. Let's cough." So I'm really I have been sneezing a little bit, but I've more been coughing. Did you ask me how I was doing? I'm sick.
I did. Yeah, you're sick. Yeah,
I'm sick, dude, and I'm feeling better than I was 2 days ago. I barely remember recording, quite honestly. and I wasn't even drunk. You know, I had that one hot toddy. That one hot toddy was like the last alcoholic beverage I've had in like a week. Yeah.
All right. Well, so now the tolerance is lower and you can get drunk cheaper. That's a good thing.
That's right. And I'm drinking again tonight because that's the show, man. That's the show.
That's what we do.
That's what we do, right? Rain or shine, in sleet.
Sickness and in health.
Yeah. In sleet or in dark of night and sick. We're always drinking.
Okay, well, that's a good segue. What are you drinking, Ben?
Oh, well, thank you for asking, Matthew. Today, I am drinking Hot Toddy number 2.
All right.
You know, I actually really did enjoy my Hot Toddy from last time. Like, I was like, I'm going to make a Hot Toddy because I'm sick. And I did. And I drank it during the show, and it was really, really... It was really comforting and nice, and it was good for my very sore throat then. The sore throat is much better today, but still hurts a little. So I thought, you know what? I'm still sick. Let's roll out another Hot Toddy. So this is Hot Toddy number 2. This one has 1.5 ounces of Plantation's Stiggin's Fancy Pineapple Dark Rum.
Ooh.
It's very nice, very comforting. And then to that, we have 6 ounces of Earl Gray tea. And then 3/4 of a lemon Oleo Sacrum syrup. That was the last of my syrup, and so that's why it was 3/4 of an ounce. Honestly, I wish I had a little bit more. And then I have a cinnamon stick and 5 cloves. To make it, I brewed the hot tea, and I poured the hot tea into a mug. I added the rum, the Oleo Sacrum syrup, the cinnamon stick, and the cloves, and I let them all kind of mellow together for a couple of minutes, and I have been sipping it ever since, and it's really quite nice. And that's what I'm drinking today, the Hot Toddy number 2.
All right. When you're sick, nothing like a little pineapple rum and to get things going. Yeah. The nice thing about rum, too, is it heats up really nicely.
It does. Rum is really good in warm cocktails, for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, folks, I am drinking today, surprise, surprise, an old fashioned. But I'm playing around with the things that you can do with an old fashioned because I like to do that. And so I'm drinking what I'm calling a vanilla old fashioned, but really vanilla is kind of just one of the components. But what's in it? It's got 2 ounces of bourbon, 1/4 ounce of Amaro Nonino, 1/2 ounce of a vanilla Demerara gum syrup, 1 bar spoonful of Luxardo cherry syrup, 2 dashes of Angostura bitters, and 1 dash of orange bitters. Put all those in a mixing glass with ice, and you give it a good stir for about 30 seconds. Strain it into a rocks glass with fresh ice, preferably a large chunk. And you're going to add, in our land, we add 3 Luxardo cherries, so that's what I got. and an orange peel that you're going to spritz the oils over the drink and then dump it in the drink as well. So what I like about this drink is that it's complex. It's got it is sweet. If you wanted to pull back a little bit on the Demerara gum syrup, you could do that, and it would be a little bit more bourbon forward. But I'm a wimp when it comes to that kind of stuff, and I really like the sweetness and the warmth that this drink provides. So the Demerara gum syrup, I made it myself. If you would like to know how to do that, you can just at us on Twitter or something, and I'll send you the recipe. Because we don't have enough time to talk about it here tonight. So that's what I'm drinking, a vanilla old fashioned.
Man, we really got to get that cocktail show launched.
I'm ready, man. I'm ready.
Well, we got delayed by a week.
I know. Somebody got sick.
Yeah. Anyway, but this is a baseball show, Matthew.
It is. So let's. What are we talking about on this baseball show? Well, the lessons we last recorded, which was only 2 days ago. Just 2 days ago, we were wondering, what are we going to talk about in 2 days?
It seemed like impossible. Boy.
The baseball gods smiled on us, and they gave us a lot to talk about. So we're going to talk about youth. You live by the youth and you die by the youth. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Blake Snell, who is back, but is that a good thing?
Yep. And
then, of course, we're going to do a lightning round of various topics because there are a lot of things to cover, and we're just going to zip through them. So that's what we're talking about today. Today, though, is Wednesday, May 22nd, as we record this podcast. The Giants are 24-26, still just
2 games,
trying to get above 500. Currently, as we record, we are in third place in the National League West, a half game above the Diamondbacks. But the Diamondbacks are beating the Dodgers right now, I think 3-0 or something like that. So we could by the time you hear this, they may be in fourth place. But I'm going with they're in third place right now. So this week, since we last recorded, the Giants are 1-1. Pretty simple, basic games. 1 win, 1 loss.
Yeah, simple, straightforward, basic. Yeah, that was it. The Pirates won 1, we won 1. That's how it goes in baseball. And then you just try to win the rubber match, and that's what's going to happen tomorrow. And that's the show, folks. Like and subscribe, and
That's the show. That is not the show, but we could kind of get into it because this. So a little backstory on yesterday, on which I guess is Tuesday's game. I thought we had won. StatCast said we had a 99.4% chance of winning the game with 1 out in the 9th. And dinner was ready at my house. And, we try to, eat as a family. And so I turned off the TV out of respect and knowing that the Giants were going to close this one out, and it was good. And then after dinner, I noticed that they had lost, and I had to go back and watch what I had missed, and just knowing that it was going to be painful. And so that was, I'm sure, painful to all you who watched it in real time.
It was pretty miserable, dude. It was pretty miserable because I did watch it in real time.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. The glutton for punishment that you are. So then today I learned my lesson. And I kept my iPad on because I was watching the game on my iPad in the kitchen while I was making dinner. And then I kept one earbud in my ear just so I could keep an eye out for it. And saw that I had watched us score the runs in the top of the 10th.
Right.
And then I was.
So actually you did it perfectly well. You did it because you were you learned your lesson. The game's not over till the game's over. Right.
That's right. I learned my lesson. The interesting thing about the StatCast thing, though, if you go back, the Pirates had a 97% chance of winning that game going into the 9th.
Huh. So there you go. Turnabout's fair play. Granted, the Pirates had a much more significant comeback than the Giants did.
Exactly.
So I was watching that game while it happened. And look, I want to cover one thing really quickly just so that everybody, we saw it too. Right? The umpiring in both of these games was atrocious. I think it was a little bit more even today behind home plate. I think this guy was calling bad balls and strikes for both sides today.
Both teams were upset. Just ask.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was a little bit more even today, although we'll see what the final report says. We're going to cover that later in the show. Okay, so we acknowledge the umpires played a part in this disaster yesterday. But that being said, Luke Jackson comes out because it's not a save situation. Jackson, as we talked about it was on Tuesday now, but because I was sick and we missed a day. He's pitched really well recently. And he comes in and he lets two guys get on base. And then Camilo comes in and, Camilo has been really consistent this year, but wasn't consistent yesterday. But you know what? He still could have gotten out of it. He still could have gotten out of it. He still could have gotten the save. There was one real true key play in that inning, and we all know what it was. It was Marco Luciano going for the double play before he had the ball in his glove, which is a young guy's mistake, and he was trying to end the game and instead got nobody out.
Gave it away.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's true. You're right. You're right. But yeah, I mean, it was Marco Luciano making a kid's mistake, and it was hard to watch, Matthew. It was really upsetting, especially for me because Camilo's my boy, and I love the dude, and I know how it is for closers. Most fans, they don't care about the closer, and then the only time they talk about the closer is when they're complaining about the closer. Right? Who all his job is to go into these extreme high pressure situations and make doing something that's very, very difficult look easy. That's what we all expect from the closer. And so when things get tense, everybody else gets upset, but I start to worry because that's my boy. That's my favorite player. And then you see that ground ball up the middle and you're like, all right, here we go. Double play. And what does Marco do? He looked like he was playing Marco Polo out there with his eyes closed. Marco no catch ball.
He was trying to be too. He was trying to be too quick with the exchange.
He was trying to go for the double play
because the ball was actually in his glove, and then he tried to pull it out too fast.
He was thinking the double play, right? And that's really funny because just in the last interview that he'd had, he's somebody's asking about playing shortstop, and he's like, all I'm trying to do is make the routine plays. The routine.
Yeah, well, they had been talking about that, the announcers earlier in the game, about how he was just trying to make the routine plays, and he tried to get a little too fancy on that one because he just needed to make it out. That's all I needed to do.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Matthew? It's inexcusable. I cannot have it.
Okay,
Young men are not allowed to make mistakes. They can only do good things. That's the problem with this Gen Z today. They make mistakes. Back in my day, Gen X, we were always perfect. We did everything perfectly.
No, you didn't. There just wasn't the internet around to remind everybody how bad
That's right. Because we hadn't built it yet. Yeah. That's true. You're right. God, we made so many mistakes, but nobody recorded
Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
Yeah. No, we said so many wrong things. We hurt ourselves and each other in so many horrible ways, and there's no videos on them forever on the internet.
Anyway, so that's when we were young and dumb, but now we got young and dumb players who are gonna make mistakes. Right. And, Luciano, and this is, we've been clamoring for these guys. We've been wanting them. But then when you get them, it's great when they perform. And we've seen that. But you're also got to take the bad with the good. And there's going to be mistakes. There's going to be things that they do that are going to drive you crazy. And I think the last two games have kind of been this microcosm of what we're going to see the remainder of the year. We're going to see good and bad, and so I think we just got to buckle in and be ready for it, Ben.
Yeah, no, I agree. Of course, I'm being facetious when I say young people should never make mistakes. That's one of the requirements of being young. Is you make mistakes, and then that's how you learn, and then that means the frequency of your mistakes goes down as you become more experienced. And it is the double-edged sword of having young players on your baseball team. They're going to do things that seem like they should be routine and aren't. They're going to make things where they're trying too hard and you can see it. And when you know that if they just put in the normal effort, it would have been better. And then they're going to learn from those. But if you want young players on your team, you have to expect that.
Well, but I think it's easy to focus on the negative, but there's also a lot of positive that's going on. Even in a game, like you could see the growth of guys like Matos and Ramos, who both of them kind of didn't have a really good beginning of this game, right, offensively. And
of today's game, you mean the comeback?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, the comeback win. And so, you had like Ramos, who was 0 for 4 with 3 Ks going into the 10th. And then, he gets a big hit to drive in a run. And then you get Matos, who had probably the most key hit of the night, even though it was an error on Reynolds in center field to allow him to take advantage of that.
He'd done a really hard turn, and then he didn't hesitate. And the good news about young players is that those flashes of brilliance should continue, but the mistakes will diminish over time.
Exactly. And I think guys like Matos, young guys, Matos' line ended up, he had 2 hits on the day, right? And so...
I don't know what you mean, though. It's like, strikes, don't swing at balls.
So easy. I'm sorry. I think
just hit it. Hit it hard. I could do it. I just don't want to.
Yes. Hit strikes, throw strikes, right? That's as simple as it gets.
That's baseball. Yeah, it's easy.
Tell that to Blake Snell.
Do we have to talk about him now?
We don't have to, but I feel like we should because we've been waiting for him to come back. He dominated, little league players during his rehab assignment, so there was some expectation that he was going to.
Did you say little league players? Yeah.
Well, yeah.
He did pitch the one game.
He had no hits in like 7 innings of play, so.
Yeah, he pitched 1 game in single A, and then he pitched 1 game in triple A. They were both kind of equally dominating. And they said, he's ready. He comes back. He was super efficient. Okay.
The guy can't get out of the 4th inning, Ben. That's.
Well, yeah. Let me just preface this. Like the reason, I don't want to talk about Blake Snell anymore. I'm sick and tired of Blake Snell. And I think I'm and just the way he's played in his 4 starts has just been so upsetting to me that I don't want to talk about him. But here's the thing: he was the biggest name that they signed in the offseason. He was the reigning Cy Young Award winner. And if he pitches moderately close to that this year, he'll be a huge advantage to the Giants and help them in a playoff push. And if they make it to the playoffs, then he'll be a huge benefit for them in the playoffs. And then he'll pitch 3 1/3 against the Dodgers and get smoked. And because that's what he does. And that's because he sucks and I hate him. Just trade him. Just get rid of him now, Matthew. I'm so tired of Blake Snell. And I don't want to hear from the stands who are all like, oh, it's early. It is nowhere near early anymore.
They just played their 50th game. This is not early.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, it's early for Blake. And I'm like, and whose fault is that? Right?
Yes.
Whose fault is that, Blake? I don't blame anybody for this situation except Blake Snell. Maybe I blame Scott Boras a little.
Well, and I keep going back. We finally won a rotation with Blake Snell's spot, right? Blake Snell, we hadn't won one of his games yet. And so...
this is where it all turns around, Matthew. This is the beginning. They finally won a Blake Snell start.
Exactly. And in spite of Blake Snell. And Blake Snell is, I don't even know what to say.
He stinks is what he is. He's a waste of money. He's a waste of a roster spot. He is a liability to the bullpen. We would be better off with Mason Black out there. We would be better off with Kai Tang out there.
Okay, don't go that far. But I think.
Oh, I wasn't even done yet. I was going to get to Dalton Jeffries.
I'm going to stop you a bit, but before you, I know you're sick and you got medicine head and all that, but Blake Snell has not been any help to the Giants this year. And you can make the argument that he's maybe held back the development of someone like Mason Black or someone like that. And so I would accept a turnaround by Blake Snell. And really that's what we got to hope for at this point, is that he's going to turn it around. But I don't really see the part that worries me most is that we get another year of him. And so, he's not going to opt out after this year, of course, because he's going to have to prove it next year. And so I I don't know. I feel like there could be a lot of bad things going on with this Blake Snell signing. And I don't want to pretend like I wasn't excited about him getting signed, because I was. And I felt like it was a good signing because, he was the best pitcher out there and we wanted the Giants to make big, bold moves, and they did. And now it's backfiring. And there's no one to blame but Blake Snell on this. I'm not going to blame Farhan. I'm not going to, this is what we're dealt with. And we've got to they're not going to sit him. They're not going to trade him, Ben. And I just, I don't see that happening.
They can't trade him because every team is looking at that option year as well. Right. So like I was thinking of trading him for a Pepsi machine. Right. And nobody wants. Yeah. Well, anyway, he is a liability to the team right now, and he needs to figure it out. Like, first of all, like a couple of things. It's clear, and maybe it's just because he throws so many pitches per inning. He is struggling out there, working so hard, like just sweating his ass off. And he threw his most pitches of the season today at 87.
His velocity was good. I mean, I'll give him that. But location obviously was not.
Well, I mean, and everybody was like, well, he had good, he had a lot of swing and miss. And I'm like, you know what, guys? Shut up. Stop it. Like, I don't want to hear that crap from you people anymore. That was funny and interesting and maybe seemed insightful at the beginning of the season. But now this horrible game that Blake Snell wasn't so bad because he had a lot of swing and miss.
Well, if there's any pitching staff that's shown you how swing and miss can be overrated, it's the Giants pitching staff, right? I mean, we lead the National League in ground balls, so
You know what? He'd be better if he didn't have so much swing and miss.
Absolutely.
If they just let them hit ground balls to his fantastic infield, he'd be better. I know that's not the kind
Logan
of pitcher
Webb.
he is.
You're talking about Logan Webb right there, right? So I mean, that's the recipe. So yeah.
I mean, I agree with you. He has to get better. But the thing is, if he doesn't, this is going to be a long, long nightmare because they're just going to have to keep running him out there.
Yeah,
and he becomes some point in time.
This almost feels like like the Barry Zito signing back in the day, where he just struggled so much and we kind of had to endure that. And so maybe there's going to be a redemption curve for Snell as there was for Zito.
Well, the good thing is this is only a 2-year contract and it can be a much tighter redemption curve. And he is definitely tradable next year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Because he'll only have, and if the Giants eat his contract next year, then he's very tradable. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so, and in fact, they could trade him at any point next year and eat his contract. I think they do have to they have to take their medicine, take their lumps and just ride this out with Blake Snell for the rest of the year. And that's really going to be painful because if we end up, it's 4 games right now, 3 of those games, they were non-competitive. And I'm sure that if the Giants miss the playoffs, it's going to be by less than 3 games.
Well, that's my point. That's my point. And I know I brought this up earlier when he was struggling, but these games count too. And we have more competitive arms than what we're seeing from Blake Snell, and and I think we're hoping we're playing on hope that he will come out of it. And I know that there's all these people that are like, well, he did last year, and he did. But that doesn't mean he's going to do it this year. And you go back and look at his history. He's had 2 really good years, and the rest have been mediocre or slightly above average at best. And so I don't think we're going to get the Cy Young Award winning Blake Snell. We certainly haven't yet. And, I think what we've gotten is the Cy Young Award winning Blake Snell. So that's what we've gotten.
I agree. And I think we're just going to have to hope he figures it out, but I don't think we should expect it. But that being said, I think you asked the question, would we rather have Mason Black? I would rather have Mason Black. And it's not like Mason Black's been great. And it's not even about getting Mason Black's development, but at least Mason Black's going to pitch into the 5th inning.
Right, because there's some negatives to obviously him not finishing, 5 innings, because now you're dipping into your bullpen and now, it affects the next day. And so it's just, there's a lot going on with this that is really affecting the Giants, and hopefully Blake Snell can start giving them more. Speaking of the bullpen, Bob, what time is it now?
It's time for a lightning round.
That's right, lightning round. And I thought we'd start off with the bullpen, Ben. Did we jinx them? on our last episode by saying they were the strength of the team, because then they go and they laid an egg on Tuesday.
Well, I don't think we jinxed them, but you definitely did.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I knew it was somebody's fault.
Yeah, no, it was definitely our fault. Yeah, that one's on us. And I was the one who suggested that we talk about Luke Jackson.
Yeah, right, right. And that always seems to happen. As soon as you want to talk about a player, then he lays an egg. He lays an egg,
which is horrible, because I suggested a lot of players today. So my apologies for the next couple of days.
Oh no.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. So but I think Wednesday's game was a redemption of sorts, because you had Jelly come in, and then you had Walker, and it just really shows the strength of this bullpen when you guys got when you like your fifth guy is like Randy Rodriguez, who's throwing like 99 with this wicked slider. It's I'm liking it. I like seeing it. And you're gonna, not everybody's they're never gonna be perfect, but they've been pitching really well, and it's been
the
great.
Bullpen had a bad day Tuesday. Wednesday it redeemed itself, and it looked like its normal self. So I think they're still the strongest part of the team.
All right. So we didn't jinx them. They just had an off day.
Well, we probably did.
All right. Another question for you. So we saw how bad the umpires were this.
That's right.
This last couple of days. I mean, it's just and as a fan, you're sitting at home and you're watching a ball, 3 or 4 inches off the plate being called a strike, and it's maddening. It's maddening. Mm-hmm. So my question to you is: would you rather have robot umps or a really good framing catcher?
Well, I think the way that they're going to end up implementing it is that you can still have both. But I would rather have robot umps. I get it. Bailey's really good at it. Blah, blah, blah. I don't like what's happening right now to the game. I don't like that catchers are stealing and tricking the umpires by jerking the ball around the plate. I don't like that they're sticking their glove over home plate. I don't like that they're getting whacked in the heads and then having the audacity to get mad at the batter for it. It's a disgusting, gross part of the game that feels cheaty, and I don't like it.
Well, I agree. I mean, that's where, what other sport do you see clearly the fans are sitting at home and they're watching something that wasn't just something being called something else by the officials, and we all know it. And there's an easy way of fixing this. And I think it's bad for the game when you can sit there and the umpires have so much control over whether a team wins or loses. And I would rather, they all say it all evens out. Well, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But I would rather have a game where I know a strike is a strike and a ball is a ball, and then you're letting the players play. And I just, I would welcome our robot overlords, Ben.
Over the course of all of baseball, yes, it evens itself out, but it does not even itself out quickly enough in a single season. And that's when it matters.
Absolutely.
So yeah, agreed. I want our robot overlords too.
So today, Wednesday, Lamont Wade had himself a day. And
he did.
Is Late Night LaMonte a superhero, Ben?
Matthew, there are men and then there are better men. And I don't think we need to call them heroes. We just need to recognize them as the macho men that they are, and that is Lamont Wade Jr. Yeah, he is a better man.
The man has gotten on base. His on base average is .484 for the season. That's a good week for most players.
I saw this stat I think it was on Threads, and it was done by MLB.com. It was not a stat, it was a post. And they asked the question, it's the bottom of the ninth in Game 7 of the World Series. Your team is down by a run, and the bases are loaded, and there's 2 outs. Who do you want at the plate? And I was like, the bases are loaded, and we're down by a run, and it's the bottom of the ninth in Game 7 of the World Series. And I was like, if we're talking current players, I was like, easy, Late Night LaMonte.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's the right answer, too. I know there's Shohei Ohtani and there's all this, but you don't have to hit a home run in that situation, you noodle.
Yeah, you need a run to tie the game. That's what you need.
You need a run to tie the game.
And he'll give you a 50-50 shot.
Yeah, he's the best at getting on base in baseball right now. That's the guy you would want in that scenario. And it's almost superhuman. Yeah. It's almost superhuman. So I take it back. He is a superhero.
All right.
All right,
question.
the last question's mine.
Okay, all right, go.
How do you like Matt Chapman now? Are you still disappointed, Matthew?
No, it's funny what batting 600 for the last week will do for you. No, I'm not disappointed. At the way the ending of tonight's game with that amazing, the ball was already by him.
He broke Joey Bart's heart.
Ball was already by him. And he knocked it down, gets up, and then throws this laser across the diamond. That's like, if you were an NFL quarterback, that would be an impressive distance of throws. And he threw a strike to first base.
Didn't bounce it or anything. 87 miles an hour from flailing around to try to find the ball and just picks it up and whips it over there.
And that's where I will give you credit. You have been talking about that's where his value really lies, is on the defense. And we've come to almost expect him to make those types of plays now because he just makes them so often. And it's
right.
And saving a run is just as important as scoring a run, right?
Right, but he's also hit 2 home runs in 2 days and a bunch of home runs in the past few days, and that's because his season average is usually around 240, but his monthly average is usually around 200. What does that mean?
I think one month he goes nuts.
That's right. There's these stretches where he just goes absolutely bonkers, and we're having one of those right now. So this is the full Matt Chapman experience. This is it. This is what we got.
Okay, well, I think we should wrap this up. Upcoming opponent, Ben, is the New York Mets, who we played 3 in San Francisco. I think we won 2 out of 3 when they were in San Francisco, and now we go to New York. The Mets are 21-28. They are also in 4th place in the NL East. And notable players to play for both teams, Ben: Joe Panik,
of course,
Sean Estes, Gary Carter.
Oh yeah.
And no relation, Doug Henry.
Uncle Doug? No relation?
I had to throw in Uncle Doug because when there's a Henry to talk about, you got to talk about him.
Yeah, I mean, there's also Tommy Henry who plays for the D-bags now. But anyway, yeah, we're talking about the Mets. Yeah, Mets suck. We're gonna hose them.
Well, oh no, now you jinxed them.
Oh no, the Mets are great. It's gonna be miserable. Crap. I don't know what to say.
All right, just send us out.
And that's a wrap on the midweek review, folks. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back on Monday with the big show, where the cocktails will be stronger, the rants will be longer, and my voice will probably still be crap. If you can't wait that long to get your fix, feel free to reach out to us on the social medias. You can find us in Zuckland, a.k.a. Instagram and Threads, where we go by the username Giant Cocktails. You can also find us on the Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, and Mastodon at the same username. And don't forget, you can also listen to us on YouTube, so run over there to like, subscribe, and comment. But most importantly, be sure to leave us a positive review. And remember, if it's not 5 stars, it's not positive. On your podcasting platform of choice, aka Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Matthew, you were really cheeky today. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. I will.
Cheers, my friend.
Cheers, Ben. Bye, everybody.
I want to yell goodbye, but I'm worried my voice is just going to just go
You can't hit that octave.
So I'm just going to... Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Giant Cocktails Podcast. Until next time, bottoms up.
Cheeky? Was I a cheeky monkey or was I just cheeky?
You were just
normal cheeky. Okay, all right, I'll take it.
That's not really positive, though. Yeah.
Oh, it isn't? I don't speak English.
Well, cheeky means you kind of screw around a lot, but in an endearing way.
Oh,
so I guess it's kind of positive. It's not negative.
Yeah. No,
he's a cheeky monkey. It's like every team has one, and he's ours. That's what I remember people saying about AJ Pierzynski. That was what they said about him on the White Sox. Every team has one, and he's ours.
Who would be the current cheeky monkey on the Giants?
The current cheeky monkey on the Giants? I mean...
Do they have one? Logan Webb? I can't really think of anybody else that would kind of have that like endearing, like goofy quality.
Oh, it's probably one of the relievers. Let's face it; those guys are always weird.
That's right.
It's probably the Rogers brothers together.
Oh, that's a good one. Yes, together. Yes, definitely Cheeky Monkeys. Oh,
Similar.
Also, if you're still listening, shout out to you for listening through the last music, so you get all these little Easter eggs that we always leave. How many people, Ben, actually listen to this?
Matthew, only 33% of our listeners listen to after the ending music. So 2/3 of our listeners don't even know that we do this. That's how special you are.
That's right. So this is the last thing you're going to hear. You, listener, are special for listening to the very end.
And we're saying that even though you haven't given us a positive review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts yet.
Yeah, being a cheeky monkey you are.
Yeah, so what's that about? I mean, we still love you, but
yeah,
come on.